Note, for the best experience, boss, please pause the video, grab a cloth, a shirt, or any blindfold, and cover your eyes. This is a condition for the story. Go ahead, do it now, so you can fully immerse yourself in the perspective of the blind. I am recording this right now with a scarf tied over my own eyes, sitting here all alone. I am not in an apartment. I am in a coffin. I breathe slowly. No, I mustn't let them hear me. My back is pressed against the wood, and in front of me, something is wheezing. A breath that reeks of damp grave soil. My hands tremble as they grip the door handle. I try to push, but it won't budge. Suddenly, sharp nails scratch the wood from the outside, slow, as if carving my name. I am about to scream, but a voice whispers into my ear, asterisk, don't move. I can see you. Asterisk. The wind lashes my face. I smell dry dirt and wild sage. My steps are heavy on the sidewalk. The sound of my cane is my only compass. Marco holds my hand, his grip is soft. His voice echoes, don't worry, Aurelio. The place is cheap, just don't ask about the basement. The door opens with a groan. 1 step, 2 steps. The scent here is strange, the smell of a life cut short. My hand brushes the wall, it feels rough, damp. Marco slams the door. See you tomorrow, Aurelio, he says, and he is gone. The silence is heavy. I navigate the space. The room is vast, the echo of my footsteps returns, distorted. I touch the bed, the mattress is worn, cold. I move toward the closet, massive wood, like a beast. I reach for the handle, cold as ice. I unpack. My cotton shirt, my old coat. I put them inside the closet. The sound of fabric rubbing against wood is the only noise. Tick, tock, the wall clock doesn't stop, it beats in sync with my heart. I stop. There is a sound directly above my head. Something heavy being dragged. Scritch, scritch, there is no one living above, this is a ground floor unit. I raise my cane toward the ceiling, nothing. The sound stops, then begins again, right above where I stand. I try to sleep. I pull the quilt over my face. Asterisk, asterisk, a sound emerges from beneath the pillow. Not wind. Air escaping from lungs. I feel the pillow, nothing. I lie back down, and my hand brushes cold hair on the pillow. The kitchen. Droplets fall. Tick, silence, tick, silence. It is not water. It smells metallic, viscous. I touch the floor, my hand comes away wet with something warm. I smell my fingertips, blood. I scramble toward the wall. The wall is breathing. I can feel chests rising and falling behind the plaster. Back away. I feel another wall. The room is shrinking. Whispers. Aurelio. Aurelio. Not one voice, but many. Children laughing, muffled by cloth. They move around me, I hear the patter of bare feet, I smell the dirt covering their bodies. I try to escape. My hand searches for the door, I turn the knob. Locked. I push, the knob trembles, then someone grips it from the other side, pulling back to keep me inside. I return to the closet. I reach for my shirt. My fingers touch something that shouldn't be there. Skin, human skin, rough and cold. I scream, but the room swallows the sound. The wood splinters. The closet door swings open. Something emerges, fingers resting on my shoulder. No, claws. The room is no longer an apartment, it has become an infinite space, and every wall is screaming. The cold breath against my ear. The smell is pungent. The voice whispers, asterisk, you have paid the price, Aurelio, but now you will pay with your life. Asterisk, I can feel the freezing air on my skin. Silence returns. Absolute stillness. I reach out. My hand touches another hand, freezing cold, gripping mine tightly. It pulls me downward, toward the floor, which begins to open. I have no voice left. I only hear the sound of rain beginning to fall, inside the room. Reminder, keep your eyes covered, boss. Don't peek. Darkness is your only companion now. The air is heavy, like a wool blanket soaked in stagnant water. I am sitting on the edge of the bed, my heart hammering against my ribs, asterisk thump thump asterisk, like a bird trapped in a cage. I haven't moved in hours. Every time I dare to shift, the floorboards groan beneath me. Giggle. It's small. Delicate. A child's laugh, light as a feather, yet it makes the skin on my arms crawl. I turn my head toward the sound, my ears straining, desperate to map the room. Pat pat pat. Bare feet running on the cold tile. They aren't running away, they are circling me. I can hear the rhythm of their movement, a frantic, playful dance. I lift my cane, holding it like a shield. Who is there? I whisper, my voice cracking. Only silence answers, followed by the faint, rhythmic scraping of a toy against the floor. Suddenly, the temperature drops, a biting, unnatural cold that stings my face. I feel a presence standing directly in front of me. I can't see them, but I can feel the weight of their gaze. It's an empty, hollow stare. I reach out, my hand trembling in the empty air, searching for a shoulder, a sleeve, anything. My fingers brush against cold silk. A dress. I follow the fabric up with my hand, a small waist, fragile shoulders. It's a young girl. I can smell her hair, it smells like wet earth and lilies that have been dead for a very long time. Little one. I murmur. Her hand, tiny, icy, and limp, slips into mine. She doesn't squeeze back. She just leads me. I stand up, pulled by this phantom child. We walk across the room, past the closet that screams in my memory, and toward the kitchen. She stops. I hear the sound of a woman weeping now. A soft, continuous sob that seems to vibrate from the walls themselves. I feel the child let go of my hand. I am alone again, but not truly. I can see them now, not with my eyes, but with my soul. Ghostly flickers of light, silhouettes of a woman and two children, hovering in the corner of the kitchen. They are looking at me, their faces obscured by shadows, their eyes hollow pits of sorrow. They aren't looking at the man in the room, they are looking through me, watching something behind me. I slowly turn around. The air behind me is vibrating with a deep, guttural growl. The spirits are huddled together, pointing toward the floorboards beneath my feet. Thud. Something hits the floor from beneath the foundation. They are trying to tell me something. They are prisoners of this house, and I am the only one who can hear their plea. I fall to my knees, pressing my hands flat against the cold, uneven tiles. The vibration is getting stronger. Something is waking up down there. What is it? I cry out. The sobbing stops. The children vanish. The room is plunged into a silence so profound it hurts my ears. I am left alone on the kitchen floor, kneeling over a patch of tiles that feels softer than the rest. The air grows thick with the scent of decay. I run my hand across the grout, and my fingernail catches on a loose edge. It lifts. A puff of grave dust rises into the air, choking me. I dig my fingers into the gap, pulling at the tile with desperate, blind strength. Snap. The tile gives way. I reach into the hollow space beneath the floor. My fingers don't touch dirt. They touch something smooth, hard, and dreadfully familiar. I pull it out. It's a child's shoe. Small, worn, and stained with something dark. The scratching begins again, but this time, it's not from the closet. It's coming from everywhere. The walls are vibrating. The spirits are back, and their screams are no longer muffled. They are deafening. I drop the shoe and scramble backward, but my hands hit something else. I reach out, and my hand lands on a human face, cold, stiff, and wet. I recoil, my back hitting the door. Aurelio. The voice isn't the woman's. It's deep, masculine, and dripping with malice. It's coming from the ceiling, from the floor, from the very air I breathe. The house is no longer a cage, it's a throat, and I am being swallowed whole. The walls are no longer solid, they feel like pulsating veins of rotting wood. I scramble back, my hands scraping against the floorboards, but they aren't wood anymore, they feel like ribs. I am trapped inside the belly of this house, and the smell of decay is so thick I can taste it on my tongue. Asterisk click. Clack asterisk. The sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, pacing just inches away. Not the light, airy patter of the children, but the heavy, dragging thud of something massive. Something that has been waiting under the floorboards for decades. I press myself into the corner, my cane held out like a pathetic needle against a monster. Who is there? I scream, but the house swallows my voice. The darkness is absolute, heavy enough to crush a man's spirit. Slide. A drawer in the kitchen cabinet glides open on its own. I hear the clatter of silverware, sharp, jagged knives. One by one, they fall to the floor, sticking into the wood with a sickening thump. They are being arranged. A pattern. A map. I reach out, desperate to find a way out, and my hand lands on something cold and metallic. A pipe. I follow it, hoping it leads to the front door, but my fingers meet something soft instead. I recoil, pulling my hand back as if burned. It was a face. A face made of damp, crumbling plaster and rotted skin. You found them, Aurelio, the voice whispers. It's right behind me now, warm and wet, smelling of copper and bile. I try to stand, but a grip like a vice clamps onto my ankle. I am dragged across the kitchen floor, my nails clawing at the grout. I feel the floor give way again, the hole I made earlier widening, yawning like a hungry mouth. Asterisk scratch. Scratch. Scratch, asterisk. The children are here again. I feel their tiny, freezing hands on my arms, not to hurt me, but to hold me back from the edge. They are weeping, a chorus of high-pitched, broken wails. The woman is there too, I can feel her long, tangled hair brushing against my neck. Don't look, she breathes into my ear. But I don't need to look. I can hear it. The sound of something being pulled from the hole beneath me. Bones clicking together like loose dice. The sound of a heavy, rusted saw being dragged against a stone. I feel the presence rise. It's towering over me, casting a shadow that feels like a weight on my chest. It isn't a ghost, it is the physical embodiment of the cruelty that happened here. Snap. The light in the room flares, a brief, searing heat that I can feel on my skin, though I see nothing. Then, a drop of something hot falls onto my hand. I touch it. It's thick. Sticky. Blood. The ritual, the voice rasps, and now I recognize it. It's the same voice I heard the night I moved in, the one that warned me not to ask about the basement. It's the house itself. I am hoisted up, dangling by my collar. The air is thinning, the walls closing in until I can feel the plaster pressing against my back. I am being crushed, squeezed like a dry sponge. They were just the beginning, Aurelio, the voice says. You are the final lock. The floor beneath me vanishes entirely. I am falling, but there is no ground. Just an endless, freezing abyss where the children's sobs are slowly fading into the sound of the wind, and the only thing left in the room is the smell of fresh, warm blood. Keep your eyes covered, boss. Don't peek. The darkness is the only thing keeping you safe. Let's reach the end. I am falling, yet I feel no impact. The descent is endless, a plunge through cold, stagnant air that tastes of ancient iron. Then, the sensation changes. The floor, or what feels like the floor, solidifies beneath me, but it is not wood. It is earth. Soft, damp, freshly turned earth. I try to stand, but the air is filled with the chanting of 1,000 voices, none of them human. They are layered, a cacophony of guttural prayers, echoing from every direction. I am in the hollow, the true basement of this house, the place that never appeared on any map. Shoo. The sobbing returns, closer now. I reach out and touch the wall. It's not plaster, it's bone. Thousands of small, calcified ribs and skulls embedded in the mud. This is not a cellar. It is a mass grave. I realize then the history of this place, a legacy of sacrifice. The cycle requires a witness, the voice says, the same cold, commanding tone I've heard since the first night. The father needed to feed the earth to keep the doors closed. You, Aurelio, you are the witness who will ensure the cycle continues. I hear the heavy thud of a door closing far above. I am buried, sealed away with the history of the house. I feel the presence of the man, the killer, towering over me. I can hear the metallic click of a blade being unsheathed. It's the same sound I heard in the kitchen when the knives fell. Drip. A drop of moisture hits my forehead. It's warm. It's not rain. It's the life essence of the house itself. I realize now that Marco, the boy who brought me here, was never just a neighbor. He was the next generation of the butcher's line, the one who delivers the offerings. Why? I whisper, my voice barely audible over the chanting. I am nothing. I am a blind old man. The killer laughs, a dry, raspy sound like autumn leaves blowing over gravestones. You are perfect. A man with no future, no eyes to see your own end, and no light to guide you out. You are the perfect vessel for the shadows. I feel the blade pressed against my throat. It is cold, steady, and inevitable. But then, the chanting shifts. The children, those tiny, frozen spirits I felt earlier, they aren't weeping anymore. They are screaming in rage. I feel a surge of frigid air whip past me, a storm of restless, angry souls. Snap. The killer's grip on my collar breaks. I hear a gargled cry, the sound of a heavy body hitting the earth, and the chaotic tearing of something, not cloth, but spirit. The house is fighting itself. The butcher is being shredded by the very victims he bound to these walls. I crawl blindly, my hands deep in the mud, moving away from the carnage. I don't know where I am going, only that I must reach the surface. The ground shakes, the bones beneath me rattle, and the chanting rises to a deafening roar that threatens to tear my mind apart. I hit a wooden structure, the stairs. I scramble up, step after step, my lungs burning with the stench of decay. Every inch of this house is pulsating, trying to stop me, trying to seal me back into the dark. I reach the top, my hand finding the heavy wooden door. It's unlocked. I burst through, stumbling out onto the cold, hard pavement of the street. The air hits my face, crisp, biting, and glorious. I hear the distant sound of a car passing by, a dog barking, the mundane noise of a world that has no idea what lies beneath the floorboards. I stand there, gasping, still holding my cane, my clothes caked in grave dirt. I turn to look back at the apartment, but there is only silence. The house is quiet, still, and dead. The windows are dark, the door is shut. I walk away, the rhythm of my cane once again guiding my path. I know I am safe, but as I walk into the night, I realize something else. I can still hear them. The children, the woman, the killer, they are not in the house anymore. They are in my head. And every time I close my eyes, I don't see darkness. I see the basement. I see the ritual. And I know, with a terrifying certainty, that the house didn't let me go. It just followed me home. I am walking down the main road, the cold wind whipping against my skin. My cane continues its rhythmic tap-tap-tap against the asphalt. It is the sound of sanity. It is the sound of the world I used to know. But something is wrong. The sounds of the city, the distant hum of traffic, the stray dogs, the wind, they are fading. Replacing them is a new sound. It's the sound of a heavy, wooden door creaking open in the distance. Asterisk creak. Thud, asterisk. I stop. My heart, which had just begun to slow, now gallops again. I turn around, facing the direction of the apartment, but there is no apartment anymore. There is only the sensation of that cramped, rotting room. The walls are closing in on the street itself. I reach into my pocket for my keys, my hands shaking. I feel the cold metal, but when I pull them out, they aren't keys. My fingers wrap around something small, something jagged and cold. It's the child's shoe. How did it get here? I left it in the basement. I left it in the hole. My breath hitches, and I throw the object as far as I can. I hear it land, not on concrete, but with a wet, soft thwack against wood. Pat pat pat. Small footsteps. They aren't behind me. They are inside my mind. I try to block them out, but they are louder than ever. The children aren't just memories, they are anchors. They have tethered themselves to my very consciousness. Aurelio. The woman's voice. It's not echoing, it's vibrating directly from my own throat. I try to cough, to clear the sound, but a stream of grave dust pours from my mouth. I collapse to my knees, clawing at my chest, feeling the walls of the house rising from beneath my own skin. I realize then the final truth of the ritual. The house didn't just want a sacrifice, it wanted a vessel. The butcher was merely the gardener, tending to the crop. And I am the harvest. The world around me dissolves. The street lights, the cold wind, the city, all of it is stripped away. I am back in the kitchen. I am standing over the hole. I am holding the knife. I feel my arm move, not of my own volition. It rises, guided by a force that is ancient, cold, and utterly hollow. My hand grips the handle of a blade I can feel in my imagination, cold and sharp. I hear a knock on the door. It's Marco. Aurelio, his voice calls out, young and unsuspecting. Are you inside? My mouth opens. I try to scream, to warn him to run, to tell him that the house is hungry, but no words come out. Instead, I hear a voice, my own voice, but twisted, deeper, ancient, speak for me. Come in, Marco, I say. The floor is open. We are waiting for you. I feel the door handle turn. The house hums, a low, resonant vibration that shakes my bones. I am no longer Aurelio. I am the silence between the floorboards. I am the shadow in the closet. I am the memory that never dies. The door swings open. I raise the knife. The cycle is complete. And in the darkness, where I have always lived, there is only the sound of a new, long, and agonizingly slow scratch against the wood. The knife is heavy in my hand. It feels like a part of my own anatomy, an extension of the cold, rigid terror that has replaced my heart. Marco stands in the doorway. He is silhouetted against the dim light of the hallway, a young man with a life ahead of him, a life that is about to become nothing more than a whisper in these walls. Aurelio, why are you sitting in the dark? Marco asks, his voice trembling with a sudden, instinctual dread. He stops. He smells it, too, the copper, the rot, the heavy, suffocating scent of the abyss I brought back with me. I don't answer. I can't. My lungs feel like they are filled with grave dirt. I am a passenger in my own body, watching through the eyes of a soul that has been hollowed out and refilled with the house's malice. Click. Marco backs away, his hand fumbling for the light switch. The bulb flickers to life, a harsh, yellow glare that blinds me, not because I am sensitive to light, but because it exposes the gore that is now splattered across my clothes. He screams. It is a raw, jagged sound that tears through the silence. He tries to bolt, but the door, that heavy, ancient door, slams shut with a force that shakes the foundations of the building. I begin to move. Not walking, but gliding. I feel the floorboards shifting beneath me, aligning themselves, creating a path, a trap. The children are there, standing behind Marco, their faces pale and featureless, their hands resting on his shoulders. He doesn't see them, but he feels the cold. He falls to his knees, shivering, his teeth chattering uncontrollably. Please, he begs, looking up at me. His eyes are wide, glassy with terror. Aurelio, please. I didn't know. They told me it would just be a game. They said the house only wanted a guardian. A guardian. A puppet. A shell. I raise the blade. My movements are fluid, predatory. I can hear the house purring, a low, tectonic vibration that rattles my teeth. It is satisfied. It is gorging itself on his fear. I look down at my hands. They aren't the hands of an old, broken man anymore. They are strong, steady, and cruel. I see the ghosts of the previous victims, the butcher, his wife, the countless others who held this knife before me, lining up behind me, their cold, translucent hands guiding mine. There is no game, I rasp, the voice tearing through my throat like broken glass. There is only the debt. Marco reaches out, grabbing my wrist, his skin burning hot against my ice-cold flesh. He is fighting for his life, his nails digging into my skin. I don't feel the pain. I feel only the pull of the earth below, the hunger of the grave that is waiting to be fed. The kitchen begins to bleed. Not water, not blood, but something darker, the raw, viscous residue of 100 years of agony. It rises up the walls, black and thick, swallowing the room, swallowing the light, swallowing Marco's screams. I close my eyes. For the first time, I am not afraid of the darkness. I am the darkness. I am the silence that follows the final breath. I bring the knife down. The scream is cut short, replaced by the sound of something heavy, something precious, being dragged across the floor and into the gaping, waiting hole in the kitchen tiles. The house sighs, a long, content rattle of beams and joists. Silence. I stand alone in the kitchen, the knife falling from my hand and clattering onto the tiles. I am Aurelio. I am nothing. I am the house. And as I turn to face the door, waiting for the next knock, I realize the only thing left to do is to wait for the next generation to arrive, and to make sure the door is left wide open. Reminder: keep your eyes covered, boss. Don't peek. The darkness is your world now. The silence is absolute. It is a heavy, suffocating blanket that presses against my eardrums until they ache. I am standing in the center of the kitchen, but the floor no longer feels like cold tile. Beneath my feet, the ground is soft, churning, shifting, like the belly of a giant, sleeping beast. I don't need to see to know what has changed. The house feels satiated. The vibrating hunger that once clawed at my ribs has quieted into a low, rhythmic thrumming, the heartbeat of the foundation. Drip. Another drop. Then another. The rhythm is slow, methodical. It is the sound of the house sealing itself shut. The hole in the floorboards is closing, the wood knitting back together like scarred skin, swallowing Marco and the debts of the past. I walk toward the window. I can't see the street anymore, but I can feel the pressure of the world outside trying to press in. A car horn honks, faint and muffled, like a sound coming from the bottom of an ocean. It feels like a memory from a life that belonged to someone else, a man named Aurelio, who loved his wife and moved to the border to hide from his own poverty. That man is gone. I reach up and touch my face. My skin feels like old parchment, stretched tight over bone. I don't feel the need for food, for warmth, or for the pension that once kept me tethered to the world of the living. I am a fixture now, an architectural necessity. I am the lock on the door. I turn my attention to the closet. It is no longer just wood. It is a portal. Through the gaps in the grain, I can hear them, the voices of everyone who has ever stepped foot in this apartment. They aren't screaming anymore. They are whispering, weaving their stories into the floorboards and the paint, adding their history to the layers of the house. Whisper. Will he come back? A child's voice asks. It's one of the voices I heard in the beginning. They always come back, I reply. My voice is steady, ancient. The border is porous. The hunger is eternal. I begin to pace. Tap, tap, tap. My cane is no longer a tool for a blind man, it is a conductor's baton. With every strike against the floor, I can feel the house respond. The walls shift, expanding and contracting, adjusting their geometry to trap the next soul that dares to knock. I feel a draft. The front door is slightly ajar. Someone is standing outside. I can hear the hesitation in their breathing, the frantic, uneven rhythm of a traveler who has lost their way in the desert. I stand perfectly still. I am the shadow in the corner. I am the draft that chills the air. I am the reason they will never leave. Come in, I breathe into the empty air, though I know they can hear the malice dripping from the walls. The rent is paid in full. The door creaks open further. A gust of hot, dry desert air rushes into the apartment, swirling around me. I can smell their fear, it's sweet, metallic, and perfect. I don't reach for the knife this time. I don't need it. I simply reach out into the darkness, my fingers extended, and I wait for the touch of a new life to become part of the structure. I am not the host anymore. I am the architecture of their nightmare. And as the stranger steps inside, I feel the house smile. The stranger is inside. I can hear the frantic clicking of heels against the floor, a woman. Her heart rate is erratic, a frantic drumming that sets the walls of this house into a frenzy. She is walking toward the kitchen, drawn by the smell of something she can't quite identify, the scent of wet earth, copper, and long-forgotten secrets. She pauses. "Hello?" she calls out. Her voice is clear, vibrating through the stagnant air like a bell. Is anyone there? It was open. I don't speak. I am standing in the corner of the kitchen, blending into the shadows. I am not human anymore, I am a void, a smudge in the tapestry of this room. I watch her, or rather, I feel her position in the darkness. She is standing right where the tiles were broken, right where the house fed just moments ago. Sniff. She hesitates. She smells the metallic tang of the recent ritual. What is that? She whispers to herself. She reaches out, her hand brushing against the counter, then sliding down toward the floor. I see her fingertips hovering over the seam of the hidden hatch. She is curious. Curiosity is the bait. I can feel the house pulsing with anticipation, a low-frequency hum that is beginning to make my own teeth ache. It wants her. It craves the fresh, untainted energy of a soul that hasn't yet been hollowed out. I take a step. Tap, my cane strikes the floor, but it doesn't sound like wood. It sounds like a gavel striking a coffin lid. She gasps, spinning around. Who's there? She is terrified, but she doesn't run. She can't. The house has already woven its web around her, the air thickening into a gel-like consistency that makes every movement a struggle. I don't need to move toward her. I command the room. I flex my will, and the cabinet doors fly open, the silverware rattling like teeth in a skull. The kitchen light, that harsh, yellow bulb, flickers once, twice, and then shatters, plunging us into a darkness so thick it feels like velvet on my skin. You shouldn't have knocked, I rasp, the sound vibrating from the rafters above. She tries to scream, but the house reaches out, the shadows elongate, wrapping around her throat like tendrils of smoke. She is lifted off the ground, her feet kicking against empty space. The house is hungry, and I am merely the server of this feast. I feel her life force beginning to fray. It's like a thread being pulled from a tapestry. I reach out, my cold, withered hand brushing against her cheek. She is weeping, the salt of her tears hitting my skin like acid. I hold her there, suspended in the dark. I want her to understand. I want her to see, even in her final moments, that this is not an end, but an integration. Look at me, I command. And for a fleeting second, I force her to see through my eyes. She doesn't see a blind old man. She sees the truth, the walls covered in the faces of the thousands who came before her, a mosaic of agony and eternity. Her eyes roll back. The struggle ceases. The house lets out a long, drawn-out groan of satisfaction as it pulls her into the grain of the wood, into the cracks of the plaster, into the very foundation of the border. Silence descends once more. I am alone again, but the house is heavier, richer, more complex. I walk to the door, my cane guiding me. I am the eternal warden of this place. I pull the door shut, locking it from the inside, waiting for the next knock. It is the only purpose I have left. The only purpose that matters. The house is changing. I can feel it in the architecture, a slow, structural shift that happens whenever a new soul is absorbed. The walls are not just thicker, they are warmer. The house is vibrating with a new frequency, a hum that resonates deep within my own marrow. I am no longer walking on floorboards. I am walking on memories. Every step I take triggers a flicker of someone else's life, a flash of a childhood summer, a bitter argument, a quiet prayer whispered in the dark. The house is a library of stolen moments, and I am its librarian. Asterisk knock. Knock. Knock, asterisk. It's not a request to enter. It's a challenge. I turn my head toward the door, my ears tuned to the frequency of the threshold. There is someone outside, but it's not a traveler this time. It's an authority. A heavy, rhythmic stomp of boots. The unmistakable, brassy weight of a uniform. Police, a voice barks. We received a noise complaint. Open up. I stand motionless. The house grows cold, a defensive shiver that runs through the rafters. It doesn't like intruders who carry badges and steal. It feels threatened by the intrusion of law in a place where only the devil's statutes apply. I said, "Open the door." The sound of a heavy shoulder hitting the wood follows. Boom, the door frame groans. Boom, the wood begins to splinter. The house surges. I feel the rage of 1,000 trapped souls rising up through the floor. The shadows in the corner begin to detach themselves from the wall, taking on jagged, blade-like shapes. The house is preparing for war. Crack. The door gives way. A beam of harsh, unforgiving light cuts through the darkness, blinding and intrusive. A silhouette steps inside, a tall man, gun drawn, flashlight sweeping the room like a searchlight. Nobody move. Hands where I can see them. I don't move. I don't breathe. I am the shadow that the flashlight beam can't quite catch. He sweeps the light across the kitchen, across the broken tiles, and then it lands on me. I see his pupils dilate as he registers the sight of me, an old, withered man standing in the dark, my clothes stained with the remnants of the night's work. "Sir. Get on the ground." He moves closer, his boots crunching on the glass from the shattered light bulb. He's confident, arrogant, anchored in his belief that he is the master of this reality. He doesn't realize he's already dead. I lift my cane. It is heavy, weighted with the density of the entire foundation. I don't strike him. I strike the floor. Thud. The house responds. The floor beneath the officer's feet opens like a jagged, ravenous maw. He doesn't even have time to scream before the darkness surges upward, wrapping around his legs, pulling him down, silencing his uniform and his authority in a heartbeat. The door slams shut again, cutting off the light. I am alone with the officer's discarded badge, which clatters onto the floor. I pick it up. It's cold. It's meaningless. I toss it into the corner, and I hear it vanish into the wall, a new trinket added to the house's hoard. The house is quiet again, but it's a restless quiet. It wants more. It has tasted the taste of power, of defiance, and it is emboldened. I feel a presence behind me, the officer, already beginning to drift, his soul being peeled away like skin from a fruit. I sit in the chair by the window. I am the warden. And now, I have a uniform to add to the collection. The cycle is not just continuing, it is expanding. And God help the next person who knocks on my door. The house is no longer just a room, it is a sprawling, labyrinthine organism. With every soul taken, it stretches its boundaries. The walls are now pulsing with a steady, rhythmic thrum, the heartbeat of the lawman, fused with the wood and the stone. Asterisk tick. Tock asterisk. The clock on the wall has stopped ticking, but I can hear the time passing in the groans of the floorboards. It is midnight, or perhaps it is forever. The distinction has lost its meaning. My cane feels heavier now, the wood vibrating with the trapped kinetic energy of the officer who thought he could police this shadow. I sit in the darkness, and I begin to hear the thoughts of the house. It is a cacophony, a million disparate whispers clamoring for dominance. The children are crying for their mother, the mother is praying for an end, the officer is screaming for reinforcements that will never come. Shoo! I command them to silence. I am the conductor of this choir of agony. I flex my will, and the whispers harmonize into a single, low-frequency hum that vibrates the very air in my lungs. They are becoming part of me, and I am becoming part of them. I reach into the wall, my hand passing through the solid plaster as if it were water. I pull out a small, metallic object, the officer's service pistol. It feels alien, cold, and entirely obsolete. The power that dwells here doesn't need lead or gunpowder. It needs only the void. I disassemble the weapon with my bare hands, the steel bending and snapping like dry twigs. I feed the pieces back into the wall, watching as the house consumes the metal, turning the hard, modern edges into smooth, architectural supports. There is a knock at the door. It is rhythmic, urgent, and frantic. Not the police, and not a lost traveler. It is the sound of family, or what the house remembers as family. It mimics the pattern of a husband returning home to a wife who has been waiting in the dark for a century. The house is playing games now. It is reaching out into the neighborhood, pulling at the threads of reality, inviting the outside world to gaze into its maw. Who is there? I whisper, but it is not me who speaks. It is the house, projecting my voice through the wood, mimicking the tone of a weary, aged husband. Aurelio? Is that you? It's Maria, the voice outside responds. It's an impossible voice, my wife, who died years ago, who died before I ever came to this godforsaken border. I rise. My cane taps against the floor, a sharp, decisive sound. The house is testing me. It is throwing my own ghosts at me, trying to see if I can still be broken by the memory of love. I walk toward the door. Every step is an act of defiance against the past. My wife, or the thing that wears her voice, is standing on the other side of the wood. I can smell her perfume, a scent of dried roses and dust. It is a scent that once defined my life, and now, it is merely a chemical trap. I place my hand on the doorknob. The metal is freezing, turning white with frost under my touch. You are not her, I whisper. The house shudders, a violent, tectonic shift that throws me back. It wanted me to open the door. It wanted me to succumb to the grief, to let the fantasy overwhelm the reality. I laugh, a dry, hollow sound that echoes through the empty rooms. I am the warden. I do not get to have a family. I do not get to have a past. I have only the hunger of the walls. I turn my back on the door, letting the voice of my wife turn into a shriek of thwarted rage, and I walk back into the kitchen. The cycle continues. I am not the prisoner, I am the prison. And I am ready for whatever comes next. The silence after my rejection of the phantom is not peace, it is a vacuum. The house is sulking. I can feel it in the way the temperature fluctuates. One moment, the air is boiling, thick with the heat of a feverish dream, the next, it is so cold that my breath crystallizes into frost before my lips. Scrape. Something is moving behind the walls. It isn't a soul this time. It is the structure itself. I can hear the nails straining against the wood, the beams shifting like joints in a body that hasn't moved in a millennium. The house is trying to reconfigure its own anatomy, searching for a way to break me. I walk to the center of the kitchen and tap my cane 3 times. Asterisk thud. Thud. Thud, asterisk. Enough, I command. The house stops. It recognizes the authority of its keeper. I am the only thing in this hell that isn't a victim, the only thing that isn't a predator. I am the bridge between the hunger and the feast. But even a warden can grow tired of the cage. I find myself drawn to the area where the floor used to be broken, the place where Marco, the officer, and so many others were pulled into the earth. I kneel, my fingers tracing the grain of the wood. It feels different now. It feels like scar tissue. I press my ear against the surface. There is a sound coming from deep below. It's not a scream. It's a rhythmic, mechanical clicking. Like a heartbeat, but synthetic. A clockwork mechanism that spans the entire width of the foundation. I realize then that the house isn't just a house. It's a vessel for something even older, an ancient, patient malice that has been growing beneath the border for centuries. I reach into my shirt and pull out the object I've been guarding, the child's shoe from the first day. It's no longer just a piece of leather. It's become a key. I press it into the floorboards. Click. The floor doesn't open. Instead, a projection begins. A flicker of gray, dusty light fills the room, casting shadows that aren't my own. I am witnessing the origin, a vision of a man, not unlike me, standing in this exact spot in the 1920s, burying the very first sacrifice. He isn't acting out of malice, he is acting out of a desperate, bargain basement faith. He thought he was buying protection. He thought he was saving his bloodline. "You fool," I whisper to the ghost. He doesn't hear me. He finishes his work and walks out the door, believing he has secured his legacy. But he left the door unlocked. He left the cycle running. And now, I am the one tasked with keeping the mechanism greased with blood. I stand up, the shoe turning to ash in my hand. The vision fades, leaving me in the suffocating dark. I am no longer just the warden, I am the custodian of a historical era. I feel a sudden, violent surge of resentment. Why me? Why was I chosen to be the final, broken link in this chain? The house senses my doubt. It reaches out, its shadow tendrils caressing my shoulders, trying to soothe me, trying to lull me back into the mindless rhythm of the hunt. It wants me to accept the absurdity of it all. But I don't accept it. I turn toward the front door, the cane vibrating in my grip. I have spent these days learning the language of the walls, and I have discovered that even the strongest foundation has a flaw. I don't intend to feed the house anymore. I intend to dismantle it, one memory at a time. I have stopped playing the warden. I have started playing the architect of ruin. The house senses my shift in intention, the walls are no longer humming, they are screaming, a high-pitched, metallic whine that makes the very air vibrate. Snap! I strike the wall with the full weight of my cane. The plaster doesn't just crack, it bleeds. A dark, tar-like substance oozes from the fissure, smelling of sulfur and wet regret. I have found the vein. This is where the house stores the stolen time, the decades of life it has harvested from those who knocked. You think you are eternal? I hiss at the shadows. You are just a parasite, and I have learned how to starve you. I don't need to see the architecture to know where the heart is. I have been listening to the rhythm of the basement for days. I walk toward the kitchen, my movements precise, no longer needing the safety of my cane to navigate the shifting terrain. I feel the floor pulsing beneath me, trying to trip me, trying to sink into a swamp to swallow my boots. I ignore it. I reach the spot where the hatch once was. I drop my cane. It clatters to the floor, but I don't need it. I place my hands flat on the wood. I begin to recite the names, not the victims, but the architects. The butcher, the father, the lawman, the ones who fed this beast. I am calling them back. Groan. The house buckles. It is a tectonic shift of grief. By naming the architects, I am forcing the house to confront its own inventory. The spirits, usually trapped in the grain of the wood, begin to manifest. They are not ghosts anymore, they are weight. They are mass. The room is becoming crowded with the displaced, a physical manifestation of the thousands who have been consumed. I feel the floorboards give way, not because the house is opening, but because it can no longer support the weight of its own stolen history. Eat your fill, I command. The spirits turn on the structure. They aren't attacking me, they are attacking the walls, the beams, the very foundation. I hear the sound of the house tearing itself apart from the inside. Wood splintering like massive bones, nails popping out like teeth being pulled. I am standing in the eye of the storm. The roof begins to sag. Dust, centuries of it, descends like a gray, choking snow. I can feel the house dying. It is a slow, agonizing dissolution, a gargantuan creature realizing that its host has turned against it. I don't move. I don't run. I wait for the final collapse. The walls are translucent now, revealing the hollow voids where the blood was stored. It is beautiful. It is the end of the border's curse. Crack. The main support beam gives way. The ceiling starts to descend, a slow, inevitable crushing of the space that once held so many screams. I stand tall, blind, and finally, truly, free. The house has no more secrets to keep, and I have no more debts to pay. I just need to wait for the wood to crush the silence. Keep your eyes covered, boss. Don't peek. The darkness is the only thing that remains. The ceiling reaches me, but it does not crush. Instead, the wood dissolves into fine, gray ash that rains down, coating my clothes, my skin, and the floorboards. The screams of the house, that long, tectonic agony, are fading, turning into the hollow sound of wind rushing through an empty field. I am standing in the open air. I can feel the change in pressure. The humidity of the basement is gone, replaced by the dry, biting chill of the desert night. The walls are gone. The ceiling is gone. I am no longer a warden in a cage, I am a man standing in the middle of a foundation. Crunch. I take a step. Beneath my boots, I feel broken glass and pulverized brick. The house is a skeleton now, a ruined footprint of a structure that once held the weight of a century. The spirits are gone, too. They didn't vanish, they simply drifted away, pulled into the vast, uncaring expanse of the desert, finally unbound from the wood and the stone. I am alone. I reach out, searching for the familiar warmth of the kitchen counter or the cold, biting grip of the closet door handle, but there is nothing but the reach of the night. I am truly blind now, with no architecture to map, no walls to tell me where I end and the world begins. I reach into my pocket, my fingers brushing against the cold, smooth metal of my cane. I pull it out and tap it against the ground. Tap. The sound is sharp, clean, and solitary. It doesn't echo. It doesn't vibrate. It is just a sound in the dark. I begin to walk. I don't know the direction, and I don't care. The horizon is wide, empty, and silent. There is no knock to answer. There is no rent to pay. There is only the long, slow rhythm of my own movement through the sand. As I walk, I realize the house followed me in one final way. The silence it left behind is not a void. It is a presence. A lingering, heavy stillness that clings to my shoulders like a shroud. I have dismantled the prison, but I have carried the weight of the warden out into the world. The desert wind begins to rise, picking up the ash of the house and swirling it around me. I can taste the past on my tongue, the copper, the salt, the rot, but it is fading, washed away by the grit of the sand. I continue to walk. Tap, tap, tap. Behind me, the desert is quiet. There is no shadow, no scream, no hidden hatch to feed. I am a man walking through the dark, and for the first time in my life, I am not waiting for anything to happen. I am finally, completely, waiting for nothing at all. The desert is vast, a sea of infinite, shifting sand. The wind no longer carries the scent of rot or ancient iron, it is clean, biting, and dry. I walk with the steady, practiced rhythm of a man who has finally learned the map of his own emptiness. Asterisk tap. Tap. Tap asterisk. The cane strikes the packed earth with a hollow, rhythmic authority. It is the only anchor I have left. I wonder, briefly, if I am truly alone. In the silence, I strain my ears for the familiar scratch of a toy, the heavy thud of a closing door, or the weeping of the lost. But there is nothing. Just the hiss of sand sliding over dunes and the distant, lonely howl of a coyote. I stop. I feel the temperature beginning to plummet, the desert night reclaiming the heat of the day. I sit down on a low dune, the sand shifting beneath me, burying my boots. I lean on my cane, resting my hands on the curved handle. I think of Aurelio, the man I was before the house claimed me. He was a man who looked for safety, for a place to rest his eyes and his heart. He found a trap, a nexus of history that fed on the unwary. I wonder if he is still buried somewhere in the grain of my memory, or if the house consumed even that. I reach into my pocket, expecting to find the key, the shoe, or some lingering token of my imprisonment. My fingers find only lint and the rough, granular texture of sand. I am unburdened. Click. A sound in the distance. A metallic snap, like the cocking of a hammer or the closing of a latch. My muscles tense, the instinct of the warden flaring to life, but I force myself to breathe. It is only the sound of a rock cooling in the night air, contracting under the sudden cold. I am not the warden anymore. There is no door to guard, no threshold to protect. I am just an old man in the dark, and for the first time, I do not mind that I cannot see. The darkness isn't a shadow of a monster, it is simply the world, as it has always been. I close my eyes, though they see nothing anyway, and I listen. The desert is not silent. It is a slow, rhythmic pulse of shifting grains, of cooling stone, of the slow rotation of the earth itself. It is a heartbeat, but it belongs to no one. It is a free, wild pulse. I stand up, brushing the sand from my trousers. I don't know where the road is, or if I will ever find a town again. But as I set off, the cane finding its rhythm against the ground, I know one thing for certain: I am the only thing in this desert that is truly awake. The stars, I am told, are bright out here. I cannot see them, but I can feel the space they occupy, the vast, yawning distance of the universe. I am a small, dark point moving through that immensity. And as I continue my journey, the sound of my cane becomes a steady, constant prayer of survival. I am gone. The house is gone. The nightmare is just a story I am telling to the wind. And the wind, in its infinite, aimless journey, carries the words away, leaving nothing behind but the quiet, enduring grace of the dark. The horizon feels different tonight. There is a shift in the air, a subtle vibration that tells me the desert is not as empty as I believed. For days, I have walked, my cane carving a rhythmic path through the dunes, but now, the ground beneath my feet has changed. It is no longer loose, shifting sand. It is hard, cold stone. Asterisk click. Tap. Click, asterisk. My cane strikes something geometric. I kneel, my fingers tracing the surface. It is smooth, polished, and laid out in perfect, deliberate lines. I am standing on the remains of an ancient road, a path that was not built by the wind. Who is there? I ask. My voice is steady, echoing off the vast, unseen expanses of the night. There is no answer, but I can feel it. A presence. Not the parasitic hunger of the house, and not the restless malice of the spirits. This is something else, something ancient, observational, and heavy with the weight of time. It is the desert's own memory. I stand, leaning on my cane. I feel the temperature rise, not from the sun, but from a source of heat emanating from the stone road itself. It radiates upward, warming my boots, my legs, my core. It is a beacon. You are a long way from the foundation, a voice says. It does not come from the air, it comes from the ground, a resonance that vibrates through the soles of my feet. It sounds like grinding stone, deep and slow. I do not flinch. The foundation is dust, I reply. I am just a traveler. Travelers do not carry the scent of 1,000 deaths, the voice rumbles. You have unmade a prison, Aurelio. But in doing so, you have freed the things that were meant to be kept contained. Do you think a few miles of sand can stop what you have unleashed? I think of the spirits I let loose, the ones who tore the house apart. I thought I was liberating them. Perhaps I was only moving the borders of their cage. Then let them come, I say, my hand tightening on the handle of my cane. I am done keeping secrets. I am done keeping count. The stone road beneath me begins to hum. It is a sound of awakening, a low, tectonic groan that matches the rhythm of my own heart. The desert is opening up. The dunes are receding, revealing a landscape of ruins, columns, arches, and sprawling, forgotten architecture that reaches for the stars I cannot see. I am not lost. I have arrived. The presence is closer now, a shadow that blocks the moonlight I can only feel on my skin. It towers over me, a silent witness to my arrival. I do not bow. I do not turn away. I simply stand, my cane held firmly against the ancient, sun-baked stone. Welcome, warden, the voice sighs, and the sound is like the falling of 1,000 pages. We have been waiting for someone who knows the price of silence. I realized then that the house was never the beginning. It was a practice run. A training ground for a much larger, much older duty. The nightmare didn't end with the collapse, it only graduated. I take a breath, the air filling my lungs with the scent of ozone and ancient stone. I am blind, I am tired, and I am entirely alone. But as I take the first step onto the ruins of this forgotten city, I know that for the first time in my existence, I am exactly where I am meant to be.